On March 9, 2014, the world celebrates that would have been the 80th birthday of one of the most famous and significant people on Earth and beyond, Yuri Gagarin. Decades ago, on April 12 in 1961, Gagarin boarded the Vostok rocket to become both the first human to travel into space and also the first to orbit the Earth. He came back to Earth a worldwide celebrity and started touring widely abroad. Today, to discuss that, we're joined by Roald Sagdeev, professor at the University of Maryland, expert in plasma physics and a former director of the Space Research Institute of the USSR Academy of Sciences. Good afternoon, Roald, and welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Victoria.
Well, it's been 80 years since Gagarin was born. It's been the whole century, I should say, and it's been a long time. A lot of things have changed. But could you please tell us maybe something about the early years of Yuri Gagarin?
Yuri started as a jet fighter pilot, and he was a very young man when head of Soviet rocket program, famous rocket scientist Sergei Korolev, suggested to select a group of young pilots and let's train them to become a first spaceman. And Gagarin was one of these half a dozen of people. And after substantial training, I think the jet fighters pilots physically had to be very strong people, and it was very natural to pick them up as a first cosmonaut, a spaceman. So final decision was when rocket was ready in April of 1961, who of this group of very bright young people would fly. And the first choice was Yuri Gagarin because of many reasons, not only because of his physical strength, technical readiness, but also probably, I believe, very much because of his human qualities. He was most likely, most charismatic figure among all these people, the person who was able to attract the others. So that happened that young Gagarin, he was 25 plus years old. He was given a chance to be the first human in space.
Roald, but back in the day, how possible? I mean, it all was. I understand there was lots of preparations and there was a huge research behind that. But what do you think, as a person, did Gagarin, before he actually saw the rocket and started training, did he really believe that he could be one of those who will see the Earth from a totally different perspective?
I think nobody expected that Yuri, first of all, would be unable to expect that he would be propelled to such a tremendous role.
But even when they were selected, I think they were like...
When he was selected to be one of the pilots to be trained, and even at that time, nothing would be able to tell that he would be flown. But that happened. He was the first one, and he was followed by a German Titov, his peer in the same group, who was flown a few months later.
So then there was the flight. And Roald, I have a question for you. Have you ever had the chance to meet Yuri Gagarin in person?
Unfortunately, I have never met him alive. At the beginning, when he was part of his first space achievements in Soviet Union, I was far from this area. I was in nuclear physics, and a few years later, when I joined space program, Gagarin already was gone. It was a tragic accident. He was killed in a training flight in a regular, training jet.
Yeah, there are lots of theories of why that has happened. But for a minute, let's go back to his triumphatory years, to the years of his major success. So, do you remember the time when actually he came back from that flight?
Yeah, he came back after this flight, and he immediately was attraction for everyone. The crowds in Moscow, in everywhere in Soviet Union, were greeting him. He was invited to a number of foreign countries by governments, by different public organizations. He was every door was open for him in the world. Prime ministers, kings, princesses, Roman Pope, everyone wanted to meet this interesting character, this hero.
Do you think he enjoyed it, or would he rather go back into space? After that first flight, how much did Gagarin actually involve himself into being the part of that space industry of what that was booming back in the day?
So he spent in space only 90 minutes, one orbit around the globe, and it propelled them immediately into a very important position. He was the icon, the symbol of this completely new endeavor, the space exploration. It attracted many young people, school kids, to learn about math, physics, astronomy, whatever is needed to join this new activity, this space exploration. It was not only in Soviet Union. The same happened in this country, in United States. It changed the way American educational system was functioning. There was a revolution in the education, which was actually introduced by a special program by decree of President Eisenhower.
So Gagarin was a very popular figure in the United States as well, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think nobody could resist his charming smile, knowing that guy came back from where nobody, no human was able to reach before.
But still, what do you think? What kind of personality he was? So he was a perfect public figure, and like you mentioned, he traveled all over the world. Do you think at some point he got really tired of being the one and only for some period of time, the person who has seen the Earth from the outer space, or wasn't he? So how well did he was carrying his new role?
It's very difficult now to analyze his psychology. I can imagine how tough it was to be a star at the top of everyone on this planet, and not everyone would be able to survive. And as a very shy person, as a very modest man, especially probably it was very difficult for him. I only can imagine what would have happened if he would be staying alive. I'm sure he would have been the best coach for future pilots, future cosmonauts and astronauts. Imagine if Gagarin would be able to live till the modern day when Russian, American, European, Japanese astronauts are working together on board of International Space Station.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
In minds of this generation of spacemen, Gagarin would always stay as a true hero.
It's too bad that he had never chance to see what was going on after that first flight that he made. But then in 1968, when he died, and I know it was a tragic accident that wasn't ever supposed to happen. His training jet crashed while he was piloting. How did the world grieve?
It was a very sad time. I remember, I myself, I was not in Moscow at that time. I was in heart of Siberia in a scientific campus, newly opened at the time. We all, very shocked by what happened. Everyone tried to understand what was the reason of this accident, how it could happen. And I think it still would be the subject for different speculations and hypotheses, but that's life, what happened.
And Roald, if we look back for those over that 80 years, what do you think was the largest? What was the largest achievement of the space industry? I'm not talking here just about Soviet or American space exploration projects, but overall for the world, what do you think was the biggest that we achieved for now, and what shall we expect for the future?
I would think that the next step of at least equal importance was landing on the moon by Apollo astronauts, and it was the peak of the manned flight achievements. And over all the period after Gagarin's first flight, in my view, most important achievement is all the benefits which space exploration, launches of rockets delivered to humankind. Now we have a constellation of the satellite spacecraft in the space, which are not only exploring the universe, but serving to immediate needs of humanity. We have a GPS, we have a GLONASS. Now soon we will get their new sibling from Europe, Galileo, to provide unbelievable comfort in navigating vehicles on Earth. I use it every day in my life too. We cannot imagine modern global telecommunication without telecommunication satellites. Whatever is happening today during Paralympics in Sochi would be immediately broadcasted by these telecommunication satellites around the globe. There are satellites which are providing extremely important service to prediction of weather, to study of the climate. After all, what is happening with global warming is monitored by special dedicated climatology satellites and so on. So the list of different applications is enormous.
But do you think that in our, let's say, in this century, well, it's only 2014 now, do you think we'll ever experience something similar to what people experienced back on the April 12th of 1961, where the whole world just literally won't breathe for several minutes or seconds, taking a very close look on what was going on in the Soviet Union and in space? Do you think we'll ever get somewhat closer to what the world was feeling back then? On a larger scale.
I am personally skeptic that we are going to have it. Moreover, I don't think that we even need this type of things. At that time, at the early, advent of the space age, we needed such important things, such important steps to prove that humans can conquer space, can explore it.
Mm-hmm.
Today, space industry, space activity, this is a very mature field of human activity. We have to expand it steadily, looking for new applications, supporting what we already have achieved. I don't think we even need such space spectaculars like it was at the time of Gagarin.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that maybe our generation or the world today got so much used to all the new technologies that we probably stopped noticing them, that they appear on a daily basis. But with all being said, do you think that that this name Yuri Gagarin, will it still be famous, and will he still be well known over the centuries? I mean, I understand it's hard to make such a forecast, but still.
Yes, absolutely. I think his name would be forever written in the golden letters, just as the names of great seamen, heroes of great geographical discoveries of new continents, new countries in the world ocean. And so we will see how it would develop further.
I see. Thank you so much, Roald. Today we've been talking to the professor of University of Maryland and an expert in plasma physics, and also a former director of the Space Research Institute of the USSR Academy of Sciences. We've been talking to Roald Sagdeev. Thank you so much, Roald, for this interview.
Thank you for your interest.